Hearty good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and all of our attendees, and a warm welcome to all of you to the CIO and IT Leaders Symposium 2021, curated by Kamikaze B2B Media. I am Kavya R. Chavali, and I'm absolutely delighted to be hosting the proceedings of this beautiful virtual show, sitting comfortably, as you can see, at the comfort of my home here. And I notice there's incessant rains that's happening just outside, but I do hope all of you are also staying safe and enjoying the program at the comfort of your home, or for that matter, the office. Now, when we take a look at the way the year has been, it's been a monumentally disruptive year for organizations globally, with the pandemic abruptly making digital customer interfaces and remote working capability essential. Many were forced to entirely rethink, or for that matter, digitize how to operate and do business. Now, the CIO has quickly become paramount to a company's survival and success as they help the businesses navigate these complexities and strive to gain an IT-driven competitive edge. But as we move on to the second half of 2021, reflections are being made on the lessons learned from how the pandemic accelerated pre-existing trends in the implementation of digital technology, and how CIOs are beginning to refocus on creating future-proof enterprises that can be agile to the continually evolving needs of the organization. Now, the CIO and IT Leaders Symposium is conceived to be a knowledge and networking platform spanning wide-ranging industries, businesses, or for that matter, vertical functions. So I'm going to urge all members of the audience to please stay tuned to get connected with high-profile C-suite executives who share their stories and best practices, focusing on the matter of enterprise technology priorities, highlighting topics from harnessing and integrating new technologies to rising security threats. As you're all aware, in fact, the theme for the conference this year is Resilient Leadership, Prepare Today, Prevail Tomorrow. So on that note, once again, I'm going to welcome you all to the CIO and IT Leaders Symposium 2021. I do believe it's a virtual platform, but the conversations will be absolutely real. So let's keep it absolutely informative and interactive with our power panels. On that note, what we're going to do is quickly get started with our opening panel discussion around the theme, the Big Reset. Digital enterprises shifting into high gear. So let's actually get all these perspectives flowing in from our stalwart speakers joining us who come with a mammoth of an experience. First up, in fact, our session moderator is Radhika Sehgal, partner Ernst & Young, who comes with more than 20 years of rich finance, IT leadership experience, and is also leader in robotic process automation, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and emerging technology strategy. She'll be one who's going to be extracting all the nuggets of insights from her fellow speakers that include Mr. Yogendra Verma, CTO, Cars on Rent India Private Limited, who comes with more than 16 years of work experience spanning multiple technologies in various industries. We are also joined by Mr. Vipin Gupta, AD and CTO, Starbucks India, who comes with more than 17 years of progressive cross-industry experience in digital management, consulting, and IT services with focus on strategy development and digital transformation. We also have amidst us Mr. Shiju Rotha, Chief Information and Technology Officer, CARE Ratings Limited, CARE, CARE Ratings, as we all know. In fact, he's a technology leader with strong business acumen with 2 decades of vast experience in major operating tenets of driving digital transformation through thought leadership. We're also joined by Mr. Dhrumil Dalal, CIO, RBL FinServ Limited, an astute leader with more than 22 years of professional IT experience, including over 12 years of US experience and a proven track record of aligning IT with business. That leaves me with our final panelist as well. We have with us Mr. Mukesh Sharma, CTO, Paisabazaar.com. He leads the technology vertical for Paisabazaar.com and comes with an overall experience of more than 15 years. So there you go. It looks like we've got some amazing set of speakers lined up already for the opening panel discussion. And on that amazing note, let's get the discussion started. I'm going to request you all to stay tuned because our panelists are already in. We'll bring them on the main screen in just a couple of seconds. Stay with us.
Thank you, Kamikaze Group, for having us here for this exciting discussion. Thank you, Kavya, for introducing ourselves. I'm Radhika Sehgal, partner with Ernst & Young. I lead technology and digital transformation for financial services from EY in India. And I'm so excited to be here among CIOs across industry to discuss and get their view on how digital enterprises are resetting and gearing up for their next move. Before we do that, let's step back. 1.5 years back, we were hit by the biggest pandemic of our lives, the COVID. And the COVID did a big reset in all businesses, whether it was a business model or the business operations, everything got reset. And who took the driver's seat? It was CIOs who had to take the driver's seat, not just to get their employees to work from home and to work remote, but to digitally enable their business, because everything was remote, everything was virtual, everything was digital. 1.5 years later, a lot of things are coming back to normal. So at this juncture, it's a very important juncture to look back and think what next. Are CIOs still on the driver's seat? Or we have gone back where the business models are made in the boardrooms with very little involvement of CIOs, and CIOs are focusing on the digital and operational efficiencies? Let's find out directly from each one of them. That will be our opening question, where we will get each one of them to speak about their own business and give examples on what they think. Are they on the driver's seat for the next business model, or their focus has gone back to operational efficiency? I'll go across in the order in which I see people on the screen. So over to you, Dhrumil, first. Dhrumil, you're on mute.
All right. So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Radhika. So I would actually say that, yes, CIOs are still in the driver's seat. Post-COVID, their roles have evolved. I mean, CIOs are supposed to be IT business leader. Okay, it's no longer just a technical role where you would care about few servers, few machines, few networks here and there, and then you focus only on the operational efficiency, as you mentioned. It's more about injecting technology into the existing business model to come up with a new business model. Okay, where business model evolves, not enabled by technology, but led by technology. There's a subtle difference here. It's a business model led by technology, and that's what we are looking at going forward. So I think a couple of examples, like we serve in microfinance and give loans to AHL and give loans for AHL and for MSME sector. What we have done is, we have taken this a step forward. Rather than going ahead and making our salespeople meet the customers, we are going ahead and focusing more and more on video KYC, on making sure that we are able to do contact point verification using video. So those are the things where technology has taken the lead to evolve business model to the next level. So I believe that CIOs are still in driver's seat, and that's how it should be for business model to continuously improve. That's what my opinion would be.
Thanks, Dhrumil. And Dhrumil gave an example of video KYC, and that's completely technology driven. Shiju, now what do you think, and what are you seeing with examples?
Thank you, Radhika, and good morning to everyone. I totally agree with what Dhrumil has said. I think technology has to be more aligned with the business. That's the first thing, because that's how the transformation succeeds in any of the organization. Second, with the pandemic and the technology transformation, I think we had been preparing ourselves for this pandemic since last 1 decade. But this was not something which we did overnight. We used to do drills and all, but was to do on a very smaller pace. But this made only succeed because we had ready with everything to go live over the night on 21st of March last year. I think that's something which we prepared ourselves over the last couple of years. The technology transformation, the cloud adoption, the hyperscaling of the complete infrastructure. I think everyone was ready. It was only a test of the CIOs, which happened over the night, and we made it succeed. Otherwise, when we talk about that, we did, people moved out over the night. That is true. We only pushed the people move from office to home. But the technology was always there. And it was very impossible that we could have implemented a new technology within 10 days of that period. So I think it was the test of us and which we succeeded. And that's how the business got more confidence with us. And going forward, I think aligning with the business, technology will become more like a chief information business solution officer. And whatever we go and put out onto the table by saying this is a solution which will help us to work remotely or which will help us to transform digitally, reach out to the customers more in terms of rather than in person, in terms of digital touch, I think that will be adopted more. So only the change what has happened over the pandemic is that consumption of that technology has increased. Otherwise, everything was there as it is. We might have done a few changes here and there to accommodate the people to work from home. But otherwise, I don't think so anyone would have implemented over the night some new systems or clouds to migrate and make the people work from home. So that's what I want to say, because it's more aligning technology, because technology was something which used to work in a two different tracks. Now the technology and the business has to be one. So technology CIO has to be more business solution officer going forward. So that's my takeaway from the pandemic and things.
The CIO has to be business technology solution officer. That's a very powerful statement out there, Shiju. And we have the third panelist again from financial services. So is this a financial services strength? While Shiju spoke, we were always there ready from a financial services standpoint. Adoption increased. Mukesh, what are your views, and especially what are your views from client centricity, from a client face-off point of view? Did that change? Did the business model change during pandemic? And what next? Is it still going to change with CIOs out there driving it?
Thanks, Radhika. Look, I agree what Drumil and Shiju said. But if you see in last 1.5 years or 2 years, there were a lot of things which has to be driven by the technology leaders only, because it was a kind of environment where technology had to play a very critical role and a vital role. Even in today's world, now even in today's situation, if you see technology, if not in the driver's seat, technology has to be the co-driver or a co-passenger. Depends on the kind of industry you are in, right? If you are a pure tech company, then from day zero, it's a tech game. Right? It's a tech story. But if you are in a sales-driven organization or an ops-driven organization or a manufacturing org, then we need to understand, we need to be cognizant of the fact, like there are people who are driving the business and they have a business subject matter expertise, and they are taking some calls. And technology is there to support that. And there is no shy away in saying like technology is there as a support function. But nowadays, since technology is evolving and can lead to a lot of efficiency into the overall game, so it has to be a co-driver. And of course, if it's a technology-driven company, then it has to be the driver. I can exaggerate and can say even in fact it has to be the entire car. The technology platform is the entire car itself which you are driving, right? The way we are going as an industry where every single thing, the technology penetration, the IT penetration is happening, not even in industry, not even in our professional life, even in our personal life, technology has to be now. The line between a business and technology is blurring. There is no separate thing. Like we can't say this guy is a technology and this is the simple business guys. Now everybody has to understand technology product, and then only they can function. The criticality of a technology product and this cohesiveness will I would say will always become important and more critical going forward.
Thanks, Mukesh. The boundaries are diminishing. The boundaries are being broken between business and technology. That was your key message out here. And businesses are becoming a tech front business. So that's pretty important. So CIOs, at least from a financial services, we covered 3 financial services CIOs here. They think it is CIOs are on the driver's seat. The businesses are tech front business. Let's move away from financial services. Let's move to now Vipin Gupta. Now, Vipin, Starbucks. how is technology playing the pivotal role there? Is it are CIOs in an organization or a cafe company also on the driver's seat? Vipin, you're on mute.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for inviting me on the panel. I think indeed, I feel that this is a very exciting time for technology professionals, and especially CIOs and CTOs. Because one of the things that that used to be one of the biggest challenges for a CTO was, getting the buy-in from the business for all the initiatives that we wanted to take. And I think what post-COVID has happened is that all those barriers have actually sort of, lowered down or diminished away. And hence, I think it's very easy for us to now take up on an idea and then get, on board business onboarding on that and quickly take to market. But the larger point that is still, I would say, a word of caution is that we have to be really, really focused. Whatever ideation and conceptualization we are doing have to have a cost impact, have to have a revenue impact, or a customer experience impact. Because if any of our work is not going to impact any of these three parameters, especially in an organization like Starbucks or any restaurant company, I think then I think it will not be there. So I think if we we are in the driver's seat, and if we want to make or have this momentum continue, then we will have to address these, right? And I think with regards to your question around business models, yes, I think now what technology and digital can unleash is the art of possibility which is there, right? Which you think as a business you might not even think about that, right? So we talk about in case of our context, delivery used to be sort of an add-on pre-COVID, right? Even if I talk about standard QSRs, that standard average would be 15-20% pre-COVID, and it has more moved on to 30-40% as your total percentage of total revenues in the current COVID scenarios, right? And if we talk about Starbucks, these numbers were not even there pre-COVID because we largely a dine-in business. But now, post-COVID, these numbers have become more and more significant for a business like us, and hence. And that is largely driven through entire digital experience on your app, on your aggregators, all those. So hence, yeah. So there is a lot of momentum. We are in the driver's seat as long as we can, as I said, focus on the right metrics, and the business believes in those metrics, and we can show quantifiable, visible outcomes on those metrics. I think then this momentum will continue.
Thanks. So not just financial services, even the hospitality, even the cafe organizations are becoming tech first organizations, and CIOs are there as well on the driver's seat. We did hear Mukesh talk about us and about the companies becoming a car. So we have a CIO from Cars on Rent here, Yogendra Verma. Give me examples and talk me through, in your organization, are you on the driver's seat for the next gen business model, and if yes, how?
So thanks, Radhika, and so let me just add a different perspective. So we didn't just think about being on the driver's seat. We chose our own destination as a CIO, as a CTO. We chose our own path. So as people have just mentioned about having different or new business models, aiding to the business through automation, through cost saving and all. And then when Mukesh said that, if you are a technology company, then you are, of course, working towards technology. But there are cases where you could be doing something else. So we are a car rental company. We are, obviously providing car rental services. But in our case, we were one of the most hit industries. And in our case, we didn't just think about creating new business models. We will talk about them, of course, cost optimization, automation, and all. But we think about creating new business using technology. Let me give you some examples. So companies like us, who were always highly tech enabled, highly tech oriented companies, creating a lot of in-house technologies. So we always had this thought, but the last year accentuated that thought, very, very much in our minds. And we started thinking that, can we, for example, can we productize this technology that we have created? Can we just, for example, create use cases using this technology which could fit into other other customers need, and can we sell this technology separately? So it was not just about additional business models. It was about creating additional revenue streams altogether for us, and that's what we started doing early this year. And then there has been a lot done into that area, and in fact we are almost about to conclude in some of these areas. So it's not just the driver's seat, it's all together like choosing your own journey for us.
Excellent, Yogendra. Productizing your own technology and creating a new stream, creating a new business, not just driving a business, an existing business. That's a paradigm shift. That's what we call as a new and next gen and a next getting into next gear. We all are aware that it is tech-enabled, tech-first organizations which are creating waves, which are creating $1 trillion organizations. Whether we look at Apple, Amazon's, Alphabet, all of early movers, they are creating $1 trillion organizations. And we are here, we want to hear from you. What is the 3 or 2 tech enablers? Let's get technology. Let's get into technology. Is it cloud? It is artificial intelligence. It is IoT. Get deeper into what you are doing to be that game changer, being now on the driver's seat for your organization. What is the next leap? And since Yogendra, you are on the screen and I took you last, let's start with you first here. Talk me through that.
Of course. So when you mentioned that technology as a game changer, then of course IoT and cloud and AI ML, they are the game changers, and I'll give you some examples in our context that we have done. So as I mentioned, so the key responsibilities that we got, that was of course one was automation, because we realized that that COVID has changed the paradigm, and numbers were reducing, particularly for hospitality, but the TCOs they cannot reduce that proportionate using the old paradigm. So there had to be something highly automated workflows where which were not just so which were the need of coming out of COVID also. COVID, for example, mandated that workflows which required touching the screen. Our passengers were used to sign on the user's mobile app, because in B2B is the signed invoice which works. But we had to do away with that workflow. Imagine, so we are very much different from ride hailing. A highly assured quality has to be consistently there. Our cab cannot just turn up, maybe in a bad shape and all. So we used to have periodic car inspections, but could we have that, in the same way, drivers showing up? No. So we had to create remote workflows where, the driver would, for example, take some pictures, and the machine learning algorithm at the back end would just compare and ensure that the quality is good. So of course, that was one thing, and of course that could be, done using that way only. And then not just that, I mean, it was for example, cost, as I mentioned, so we had quite many people sitting in our customer care center, but we had to find out new ways. For example, if an email is coming, then we had to automate that workflow. That could it be read by the machine? Could AI just read the email and create, for example, a booking, a duty which is mentioned in the email. So that means data is again so when numbers decrease, so there is demand, there is supply. So when numbers decrease, your planning goes haywire. So we had to do a lot of data crunching, and where we started predicting the demand in those uncertain times, and create better planning insights using that data. So of course so these are the names which we heard and which we have been doing, but in last 1.5 years it was all just this that we have done to create new avenues, to create new working models, to create new business flows, process flows. So that's what we have been doing in the last 1.5 years.
Thanks, Yogendra, doing the entire image reading photo reading and doing artificial intelligence, and then analyzing all your data, and artificial intelligence being leveraged to predict as well as to optimize while creating a new business model. That's pretty interesting, Yogendra, out there. Going to Vipin, I'm very, very interested in knowing more about, again, from a Starbucks standpoint, what was that technology which got you into the driver's seat? What is the game changer? How is Starbucks from a technology standpoint going to take its next leap?
So Radhika, I think out of the 3-4 levers that we talked about, I think the two major one that we are currently focusing on and will be the focus going forward also is actually going to be the cloud, and I'm combining the data and AI/ML as one. I think cloud largely from a point of view, and again, it's not new for most people on the call, that it gives that scalability, and especially in context of QSR and restaurants where the demand actually varies even at our level. We would have more people coming to our restaurants, somewhere in the evening and then or in the morning. So we need to make sure that all the delivery platforms are able to scale up and scale down, given that variability in demand, and then also during the weekday it happens. All that variability that is there, cloud is actually going to be a key enabler for us, and that's not only then limited also to delivery, but also the other platforms around dine-in and then back-end ERP systems as well, because then the entire volume which is there, then it kind of flows through the ecosystem. So I think having a strong point, capability in cloud is actually going to be one of our major focus areas over the next few months. The second one actually is data, and then what do we do with that data? Because I think one of the things that we are now focusing on is that how do we capture whatever data that we are generating in the organization, either from a consumer standpoint, whether it's how many times they're coming onto our app, what are they buying, and even then all the other when are they coming into the store, and then how do we then really combine that online and the offline data from a consumer standpoint? How do we then capture all the transaction data? How do we then layer it up with our third-party data like weather, all the other events, everything, to be able to do a lot of I would say the next level of customer analytics, operations analytics, demand analytics, then inventory analytics, because end of the day, we would like to offer consumer whatever they want and be able to serve that need in a very timely manner, right? So I think that way data is going to be very key. And our key theme, and which is a global Starbucks theme as well, because when I know data, then I can really make your experience personalized. And the philosophy which actually we work on is like, how do we really build those human connections leveraging technology, right? And those human connections, can they be consumer? Can they be our partner? And everybody who touches this brand, how do we build a connection with those using that data? I think is actually as a fundamental philosophy for us. So hence, as I said, so when the data is there, then obviously AI, ML, how do we do predictive analytics, all those other things and themes that we are all aware of, that will come into picture. So hence, cloud and data are going to be two key focus elements for us.
And thank you, Vipin. You spoke about cloud. How can you scale up and scale down and optimize? And then you spoke about data. I am a very big Starbucks fan. I am a regular there. Now I'm a little concerned what kind of data is being leveraged. And that brings me to the next part of the question. There is a lot that happens through data today. The entire businesses are driven through data. When we look at the India, around 460 million users are on internet, and all of their data is out there, right? And all of this data helps you grow the business. It is data first business, tech first using data business. So moving to the next question, the regulators are also watching this. The regulators are putting their regulations in place on data protection. So on one side, data is the king. On the other side, the data protection is the key and a lot to do on that. Now, from a financial services standpoint, just imagine my data out being there, me being a financial services client out there. What kind of a data is there? How is that going to be used? So I'm going to move back to Mukesh. Mukesh, from a financial services standpoint, how is data being capitalized, and is data important, which we think it is? Artificial intelligence being leveraged, and at the same time, regulations being taken into considerations. There are so many regulations every single day. There are new regulations coming up. What is the fine balance, and how are you balancing and still creating innovation?
Sure. So look, it's pretty straightforward and simple. The rule of thumb is till the time you are doing it for customers, I think you're doing a legit use of a data. And once you have a data, you have the consent of data. Now there are new regulations, and regulations are there for you, for me, for every one of us to help protect the data. It's your data, it's my data, it's everyone's data. So we have to be cognizant of this. Like, the data is important, and we have to adhere to the regulations while making sure, like, whatever products we are building using that data is only for the benefit of that given customer or for the customers, right? Now, there are a lot of things you can do with the data. Like, once you have a data, you can create anonymized models. You can use anonymized models and then create an insight out of it, and then you can give back those insights back to the customers. That's a one way of it. The second way is, which is an inherent, and I think fundamentally and principally, as a org or as an individuals who are handling data must understand, like, it's everyone's data. It might be your data also. So you have to treat the data, customer data, with the uttermost sincerity, and the data protection has to be there. The governance has to be there on the data, and whatever the products we are building has to be for a customer benefit. Now, how we are using that data to make that product is pretty simple. Like, you have to use the machine learning algorithms. There are a lot of different kind of models available. You can use those models in order to give a better choice or a better product service to the customer. That, if that's your baseline or that's your rule of thumb, I don't think regulatory there would be any challenge for using the data.
Excellent. And using the data for the legitimate use for the consumer themselves, the data governance, data protection, and all the regulations to be met. Those were the key elements that I heard you speak. Drumil, do you want to add anything that you and your organization is doing while you're leveraging artificial intelligence on data? How are you coping up with the regulations?
So, Radhika, see, as a financial services organizations, we do get audited and audited very strictly, for that matter. Okay, and we take data privacy very, very seriously. So you think about it this way: there is, when you talk of data, there is PII, that is personally identifiable information, and a non-PII. So when you talk of PII, it would be like full name, your Aadhaar, your driver's license, your complete mailing address, and passport information, so on and so forth, right? Now, these are the kind of information that you don't want to use in a model. And as Mukesh mentioned, this pieces of information don't do any good in the model as well. So when you create a model, you take this information out, and then you create models where you create clusters, and then you see what are the attributes of the attributes of the customer, they fall in which cluster. Depending on them, you target it. However, what's more important here is how this PIIs are being captured and how are they being secured. Okay, so for example, if you take an Aadhaar, we don't, by regulation, we are not supposed to store Aadhaar number. We are supposed to vault it. So the moment we vault it, we get a 16-digit unique identifier number, which you cannot just reverse translate. So that is something that we do for all our customers. All the PIIs are encrypted by default. Okay, so if someone goes into the database and tries to pull that out, okay, you just can't get the PII by your unique ID. They are all encrypted. So you do encryption, and then surrounding that, there has to be thorough data governance protocol that needs to be, defined, implemented, and audited. at regular frequency to make sure that you are actually adhering to the law. And then now once the Sri Krishna Commission report comes out and it's a law where you say that personal PIIs are supposed to be secured by default, just like my colleague earlier was saying that we were ready 10 years back. It was just that this COVID-19 was a test for us. I believe that whoever is actually making sure that these things are ticked off right now, when this bill becomes a law, we would be ready then as well.
Excellent, and thanks, Drumil, for talking about PII, personal identified information, and how to store that, how to secure that, and how the regulations are important while we are doing the analytics, while we are doing artificial intelligence. The frequent audits are important, and the regulators, while some talk about it slowing down the business, but that is a very, very essential elements, and the businesses have to be built around those regulations. Feel much more safer now from a financial services standpoint. While we talk about this, very important and very important statistics I would like to share. 50 million users. It took an airlines to reach a 50 million users in 68 years. And if I talk about Pokemon, it took 19 days to get 50 million users. And Arogya Setu, our Arogya Setu, took only 13 days to get 50 million users. So the pace at which apps are being downloaded, and India being the hub with 10% of the global applications being downloaded are downloaded in India, the pace at which digitization is happening is huge. And now that goes to the second question. Now, while we as CIOs and CTOs are protecting our data and doing right ethically, governance, etc., so are the fraudsters out there. They are getting digitally savvy as well. They are on the net. They are ahead of the game. There is a lot that is happening. How and what is happening? Let's talk about the frauds, the cyber security element, which is out from an external threat perspective. And Shiju, do you want to talk about what's the game changer now from a technology standpoint to stay ahead of the technology innovations that the fraudsters are doing?
It's a very good question, a very tricky question as well, because it's a question which will never end. Because this is something, it's like a chicken egg game, which is the first or which is the ahead of that. So I think while we do the transformation, while we do the digitization, every day the new technology which we bring into the systems, we bring in the vulnerabilities also. And definitely when we talk about protecting, definitely when we talk about awareness, it's not so easy to put it up on the same day when we implement any of the technology, because user awareness may take time also. And for us, 100 times protection or single time failure. For other side, it's a 100 times failure and only 1 time success is always a success for them. So if we miss once, we lose forever. For them, if they win once, they won forever. So I think that's the game. So we have to be always cautious. We always have to be protective, but we always have to be assured that we are only insured. We are not assured, because this is technology which can go wrong at any point of time, and any one vulnerability can bring you down. But definitely you will have to keep your eyes and ears open. You will have to keep seeing in the systems where all you can prevent governance processes. And that's how the people, process, and technology plays in. So I would not say that 100% we are today secured. It's something like we are insured, but not assured. So that's what I would like to talk about in security. But definitely all processes, technologies, prevention, precautions, monitoring, everything is there in place. But only one miss for us and 100 wins for them.
We are insured but not secured completely. One loss for us is a loss, win for them forever. Big statements out there. I would like to go to Mukesh. And Mukesh, do you want to talk about from a technology standpoint, what is it that you're doing to up your fraud prevention or cyber security? What are the tech skills that you're leveraging?
Sure. So look, Radhika, there are a lot of things which is happening when it comes to the security threat, right? Now, as we are using AI ML, the cyber attackers are also using AI and ML, right? And now, since the penetration of digital devices, mobile devices, IoT devices, it has now opened up a lot of more points, vulnerability points for them to access the overall your infrastructure. Now you're working from home. A lot of people are working from different part of the countries. Now again, these are new challenges for any companies to address for the security. Now what we are doing, or what anyone as an org should do, is basically, you have to be, first of all, you have to understand your entire information flow, and you have to protect it every single place. Now the threat is not just outside. Threat is nowadays threat is inside also, right? That's what we called like a insider threats also, right? And typically we as a org, we always wanted to go for a zero trust security, though it is very easy to say zero trust security as a word, but very tough to implement it, right? You always have an endpoint securities, you have a cloud securities, you have a DOS protection, you have a WAF firewalls, you have a anti-bot securities, you have a traffic anomaly detections, you have a fraud and risk control units behind the scene. All these, as Shiju said, all these will not be enough to protect yourself, to protect your data, to protect your infrastructure, till the time everyone in your team, everyone who is involved in IT or a technology or a business or from the org, understand the importance of a data security, understand the importance of a security, understand the aspects of it, and make sure works fundamentally on those, and do not compromise when we build or develop any system or deploy any system onto the production. That's or on, for that matter, on any environment. That's the way you can keep yourself secure. And you should always remain updated. You should, of course, have a red teams, blue teams. I can go into the technicalities of it, right? You have a team outsider team which is just trying to use ethical hacking techniques to see if your infrastructure is vulnerable. You have a blue team who is sitting along with your infrastructure or your developer team, and try to penetrate your infrastructure from inside the network. And then you have different kind of teams who can do a regular VAPT, who can do a regular security testing and all. But as I said, there are different avenues: the borderless security, the boundaryless security. Now the bring your own device, when you allow people to get your own laptop, your own mobile, it'll impose a new threat. So every single policy, every single functions, it might slow you down, but before you implement, you have to think security first, because it's a loophole into your system. And that's the biggest challenge in today's era, where we are driving, as you said. So while driving, we have to ensure like our car is good enough. We are not driving too fast. It has all the airbags. It has all the threat control mechanism. It has all the accidental prevention mechanism. I'm just using that analogy, by the way. So you have to have all those systems in place before you start pushing the pedal. Otherwise, you should be ready for the consequences.
Thank you, Mukesh. That was very insightful. A lot of good stuff that you spoke about, especially around zero trust security. While you may have vast firewalls, you may have anomaly detections, but you need to have governance, you need to have ethical hacking teams, you need to have security first. All of that you spoke about, how the entire paradigm is shifting. Security first, security at the center. While businesses are taking a very, very fast leap, all that leap has to have the security as a very important element and an enabler, rather than thinking of it as a slowdown mechanism. So a lot of very, very good insights. And with this, getting to the last part of the segment, where again I want to hear from each one of you. We spoke a lot about the different technology, a lot around data, artificial intelligence, a lot around cloud, scaling up, scaling down on security. Each one of you agreed you are on the driver's seat. Each one of you are agreed that you are getting on to the next gear, and making that big move. And we have startups, we have tech-enabled organizations who are reaching $1 trillion, and now it's on your shoulders to get everything out there for your organization as well. No pressure, but what is it from all this discussion, if you go back and think, how is the role of a CIO changing? What is that leadership techniques or a leadership skill that needs to change now for each one of you so that you are taking your organization for the next leap? Let's start with, again, going in the order of whom I'm seeing on the screen. First, Shiju.
Thank you, Radhika. I think we have been speaking about the cars and the drivers a lot, but I just want to change something. What I do present in every presentation to my business is that we are not in the driver's seat. That's the first thing what I presented to them. So obviously we want business to be in the driver's seat, and the technology is the accelerator, and the information security is the brake for the car. Because with the disruption, we can bring the acceleration in the business. And definitely information security will help us to pause if something is going wrong with the acceleration. So that's the two pillars what we always show in terms of the car mechanism, what we have been speaking since morning. And that helps the business also to align with the technology more, because business is pushing more into the accelerator, which is the information technology piece. And they also have the assurity that information security is along with them to pause any sort of disruptive anomaly in the innovation, which is going to happen out over there. So that's the one thing. Definitely from the technology leadership point of view, I want to convey one thing is that, as I spoke in the earlier also, that technology leader has to be business leader as well. So think from the business perspective first, then the technology perspective, how the technology can be made use out of the business in terms of generating the revenue, giving a superior digital technology experience to the customers. I think that's the first thing which should come in as a technology lead. Then only I think the business will have more confidence on you, will never be asked on in terms of budget. And I think that's how you will get more and more funding, because you are translating the technology directly into the business in front of them. You should bring into the table disruption in the table by saying this is the new technologies which will help business to grow with X number of X. I think that's how the business will adopt technology, adoption will happen, and adoption will grow in the system. Days have gone when the technology had to be written by the business in terms of BRDs and then execute those technology. I think that days have gone. Technology has to drive the business now, and the business has to consume those technology to bring it actual on the customer face. I think that's how what I would say. So that's why I'm saying slowly and steadily we will see the technology leaders trends, which is changing now from CIO to CDO, CDO to now very soon we will see the CIBO as well, Chief Information Business Officer. I think that's how what we will going to see in the industry trends soon. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thanks, Shiju. Nasibo, I like that. Navi, as you said, that's a new role, Chief Information Business Officer. It has to be a business-led tech leader, but tech also have to put brakes in the acceleration for business. So it's a two different, opposing views, but a lot more on the shoulder. Good point out there, Shiju. Mukesh, what's your view on this?
Well, as a leader, as a technology leader, it cannot be more challenging than the kind of scenario we are in, where you have to be at an edge always. You have to learn all the new technologies which is coming and which is there in the market, which can disrupt the overall situation or overall market, like which can disrupt, like technologies like blockchain technologies. Like ML, AI and ML can disrupt market any given day, right? You also need to understand, you have to be pro, at least, if not pro, you need to understand security very well. You need to, as Shiju mentioned, business, you can't be a great leader without understanding the business, because because for a business you are doing or using the technology. So you need to understand what is the cause you are working for, and you need to understand it into the depth. right? So you need to understand business, you need to understand data also. So nowadays we are all doing a data driven decisions, right? So data has to be there. You need to understand data, you need to understand not only data, you need to understand the statistics also, like how to, because with the penetration of machine learning, statistics has come into the picture again, where you have to learn a lot more about like the different kind of models which is happening. So you need to understand data, you need to understand security, you need to understand the technology, cutting edge technology which is happening across the globe. You need to understand business very well, you need to see the early patterns, what's going on, and on top of it, you need to have a great team. You need to understand people, like why are they together for a given cause, be it is a technology product or a business. And the biggest challenges which I see for any technology leader going forward is going to be have a great team together who is aligned for a given mission and a goal, and having all these understanding of data privacy, security, understanding of business, and have that the same zeal. I think that's why it becomes very challenging as a role.
Excellent. And Mukesh, it sounds like 10 hands, 10 legs, a different creature. Disrupt before you get disrupted. You need to learn business. You need to learn next gen technology, which is yet to come and create that disruption. You need to understand data and at the same time be a leader for people. About this and business. So this is sounding pretty exciting but complicated. Now over to Yogendra. Now Yogendra, your views on this?
Sure, Radhika. So, of course, we have already talked about, implementing technologies using, data, using cutting edge technologies, and uh, learning business, creating new business models, creating new business revenue streams, and all. Let me just talk about two maybe altogether different, but very, very important. They never seem urgent, so they are normally, never not given that much attention, but they're very important aspects of, technology leadership. First one is mindset, and second is culture. So what is this mindset about? We are living in this the latest, the newest world, but still technology adoption. So we are techies, it's just very easy for us. But when we look at people working in accounting, finance, and all these departments, there are still that technology adoption mindset issue. There are still, you won't believe, but there are still fears of being redundant as a human workforce. They still fear that if this process is automated, what would I be doing? Those fears are real. They are not just intangible. So that issue has to be addressed, because when you go about implementing technologies, automating the entire workflows and all, you see a bit of resistance. You see people not opening up with their ideas, what they want, particularly from other departments, what they would like to do, what they would like to get done. So that's another issue that's there. And the second one which I mentioned, culture. See, I talked about being in a services company but creating technology. So when you hire people, for example, you don't need people who are good in executing. Now you started looking out for people who think, who create. And it's not just about hiring those people. Even for the existing workforce, and even for those people who are coming with this mindset, you need to create a culture of innovation. You will have to let them do some things, break some things, make mistakes, but let them ideate, let them create new things. And that's the only way forward that can enable you do things which were not done before. So I guess these two important aspects are now a very intrinsic part of technology leadership.
Excellent. Thanks, Yogendra. And a lot to do with cultural and mindset change, and as a leader to enable that, in addition to everything that we talked about from a technology standpoint. So very, very good thoughts there. Dhrumil, over to you.
Radhika, as I was listening to my esteemed panelists here, actually quite good stuff they have told already. The way I would look at how CIO's role has changed and all. So in my understanding, CIO has to be a business leader first. Okay, and as the new acronym was tossed around, CIBO, that is Chief Information Business Officer. There are quite a few exciting technologies which are out there, but if I'm not able to use that technology and impact my either bottom line or top line, okay, to my business, those technologies don't mean much. Okay, very honestly. So, frankly speaking, he has to be a business leader first, and then using that technology to either drive the customer experience or do a cost saving or come up with a business model or do the same process more efficiently. Okay, is what I think the role has changed into. The way we look at things now is we support operations anywhere, we say digitization and automation everywhere, and it has to be secured by design. So security cannot be an after fact. The moment you take a process, you take a business process, the first thing that needs to happen is a threat model analysis around that flow. You take a look at it, and that's when you start implementing. You bake security right in the fabric of the implementation. It cannot come as an after fact. Okay, and one of my friends mentioned here zero trust architecture. Mukesh, I believe Mukesh mentioned it. I think that's a cornerstone. Previously, the thought process was, okay, if you are in my network, you are okay. You are outside my network, you are not okay. It was binary. Okay, now even you are in my network, you're not okay. You're not good. I'm going to make sure I authenticate you, I authorize you for every single operation. Authorization used to happen, but not sure authentication used to happen every time. And now the technologies are available to help you do that. And it's a lot easier said than done, but that implementation is fairly elaborate. And then so couple that with audits and make sure that you have a robust implementation is how I would look at the CIO's role getting involved. Okay, again, I'll just summarize it with 3 key points here: operations anywhere, digitization and automation everywhere, and secured by design. So this is what I believe the new role is.
Excellent, Drumil, and I picked up one important element while we were calling it CIBO, Chief Information Business Officer. You said it should be CBIO because business have to be before information. So now we are, and everything has to be business led, but again with security. So great thoughts out there, Drumil. We are moving to Vipin.
So I think in my point of view, the shift in the mindset, as I think my colleagues here, my fellow panelists actually also talked about, I think the mind shift has to happen from execution, innovation to business outcomes, right? I think that if we are not, and I think I'll couple that actually with one more element, which is actually all of us, whatever we're doing has to also be done from a framework of a product. Whatever we do, whether we offer a new service to our let's say in our case, stores, whether we bring up a new IT asset, whether it's the app, whether it's an internal app, everything has to be thought from a product standpoint, that how this product is actually going to make an impact in my employee journey, it's going to make an impact in my customer journey, and then how it is going to actually impact the revenues, right? So I think we can't just come up with something, whether, as I said, it's a service or any asset which doesn't create any impact on any of the stakeholders that we in a way, serve. So I think from me personally, at a very macro level, I think the shift has to happen from a execution innovation to a business outcomes and a product shift. And then there are multiple layers underneath it, whether we have to be an expert in understanding customer experience, whether we have to be, expert in understanding all the processes. Today, tomorrow, I'm going and speaking to marketing team and, pitching a new product around campaign management. I need to have enough understanding about campaigns. And then when I go and talk about another end of talking about, inventory forecasting and making my wastage very minimal, I need to be an expert in inventory analytics also to be able to pitch that product, right? So I think having the multiple, that in-depth understanding of business, and then obviously last thing is branding and communication is very important. We should be able to then really articulate very crisply that whatever services and products that we are offering internally or to our consumers has a quantifiable impact, either, as I said, cost, revenues, and customer experience. That's all. I think that's all it matters, at least from my perspective. So that's what my comments would be.
Excellent. Thank you, Vipin, for also moving from execution focus to the business outcome, product centric, customer journeys and employee journeys. And that's the crux of what you spoke about, Vipin. And with this, we come to an end of this interesting discussion. I would like to thank all of you for sharing your ideas and bringing it to the table. I learned a lot, I'm sure, so would our audience have. And thank you, Kamikaze, for arranging this for us. There's a lot that we are going to take back from CBO to CBIO to coming up with security first built out, so how to leverage data and win the business and get to CIOs running and creating next $1 trillion organizations out there. Thank you. With this, we come to an end to this interesting session. Thanks to each one of you.